interview. Today, I have the honor of being joined by Mr. Rainsy. He is a political leader from Cambodia who is now living in exile, I believe, in France. Mr. Rainsy, thank you so much for giving me the time today. I would love to ask you so much about your life. I know you've done quite a lot, but I'm going to focus our conversation mostly today on the Thailand-Cambodia border conflict and how dictatorship is kind of playing its role. Yesterday, when I spoke to you, you told me that Hun Sen is caught in the trap of his own dictatorship. And I would love to hear you expand on that a bit and tell me more about what you think his current motives are, because a lot of people are speculating, and I think that there's probably nobody that knows better than you because you've worked with him.
So, hello, everybody. Thank you, Matt, for inviting me.
On Fox 1, you can stream your favorite news.
I am very happy to answer your question about the current situation in Cambodia. Cambodia is under a dictatorship for over 40 years. It is not only a one-party system. It is a one-man system. Hun Sen does everything himself. Therefore, Hun Sen cannot afford to have any liberalization of his system. He is caught in his system, because if he allows freedom of expression, demonstration, etc., I think his regime would collapse. The same with the free and fair elections. All the elections we have seen in Cambodia over the last 30 years have been manipulated, except the one organized by the United Nations in 1993, when Hun Sen and his party lost the election. But if there were any real, genuine, free and fair election, he would lose again, I am sure, and the Cambodian people know it.
That said, being that he's a one-person leader, as you described, a one-man system, what do you think that his current motives are involving the current border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia?
Hun Sen's only motive, I would say dominant motive, is to cling on to power. He would do anything to remain in power, because if he loses power, he would lose everything, especially impunity. He needs to ensure, through absolute power, he needs to ensure immunity for himself, because he has committed so many crimes during his long reign. So he cannot afford to step down. He has stepped down, but only nominally. He appointed his son Hun Manet, but actually Hun Sen is still behind the scene, pulling the strings, leading effectively the current regime in Phnom Penh.
So what do you think that he stands to benefit from destabilizing relationship between Thailand and Cambodia?
Of course, any dictator, big or small, because they face internal problems, they have to divert attention and to create external tension. This is the case with Hun Sen regarding the conflict with Thailand over the last few months.
Yesterday, when we talked ahead of this conversation, we talked a bit about a couple of kind of almost like conspiracy theories, and I think that normally I won't address conspiracy, but I think that with you, because you've actually been inside of this machine, kind of, I'm just curious. You mentioned that there was the idea that there's political parties in Thailand that are potentially pushing or involved in helping Hun Sen to destabilize the situation between the two countries. And I'm wondering, can you elaborate on that?
I think Hun Sen committed a big mistake. He wants to divide the Thai establishment, Thai political parties, but he failed. He was very mean in exposing the conversation he had with former Thai Prime Minister. But this is very mean. And he said he would reveal personal secret when he was in good relationship with Thaksin Shinawatra. But again, this is very mean. And actually, if I understand well, I see the Thai political parties, the Thai establishment unite against Hun Sen. So Hun Sen wants to interfere in Thai internal affairs, but it backfired against Hun Sen.
He did win the last election, and then he handed down the power to his son, Hun Manet, as the now prime minister. And there's a lot of talk that Hun Manet had been abroad. I think he was educated abroad. And some people believe that Hun Manet is actually trying to potentially become more international for Cambodia. And that doesn't really work if you're a dictator, right? So I just wonder, what are your thoughts on the future of the situation regarding Prime Minister Hun Manet and his ability to maybe, I don't know, decrease dictatorship? Is that possible?
Hun Sen has never won any election. I mean, any real and genuine and free and fair election. Mm-hmm. He always manipulate the election through the National Election Committee, which is under his orders. Contrary to Thailand, Thailand, you have a very vibrant political life, but elections in Thailand are genuine. They are recognized by all parties, including opposition parties. But in Cambodia, either the opposition is just oppressed and cannot win any real election, or the opposition is just eliminated and is not allowed to take part in any election. So elections in Cambodia is meaningless, is worthless. This means that Hun Sen has no legitimacy. The Hun Sen regime has no legitimacy, whether with Hun Sen as a prime minister or with Hun Manet as a prime minister. But Hun Manet is just a puppet. He has no charisma, no personality, no capacity in whatsoever. So actually, he is just doing what his father, the strong man, orders him to do. So we have to watch what Hun Sen wants, and given his style, we can guess his move. And I think this is very interesting, because we feel that Hun Sen is more and more isolated, and his regime will not last very long.
Okay, that was my next question to you. You just said that the regime will not last very long. And considering all of what you've already said, that the goals would be to, obviously, if you're a dictator, you want to consolidate the power, have immunity, have your impunity as well. But geopolitically, if you look at this conflict from the perspective of like China, America, these types of things, what do you think that his end goal is internationally? Like, how can he possibly come away from this conflict with some kind of international support? Because I don't know if it's possible for him to gain any more in Cambodia.
I think Hun Sen realizes now.
It takes 90 seconds for this NASA-engineered AC
his policy, especially foreign policy, is not working because there is a big contradiction. On the one hand, Hun Sen embraces China. He's blindly supports China and hopes that China would support him and defend his regime. But on the other hand, Cambodia's economy and now diplomacy needs the West, especially the US. So he, in support for China, he considers the US as an enemy. But the US is the biggest export market for Cambodia. Without the US market, Cambodia's industry, especially the garment industry, would collapse. And the whole economy would collapse. And we can see recently how Hun Sen needs the intervention of the US, especially Donald Trump, to impose a ceasefire with Thailand, because without this ceasefire, I think the Hun Sen regime would collapse. So on the one hand, he blindly supports China, and on the other hand, he vitally needs the US. Therefore, this contradiction will make his regime in a more and more difficult situation.
If we can speculate just a little bit, you've mentioned several times that the regime is falling. So essentially,
falling. You can see the beginning of the end.
Okay, so if it's the beginning of the end, if the regime falls, based on your experience, what happens next?
I think the fate of Cambodia, any political regime in Phnom Penh must have the not necessarily the support, but at least a neutral position from China, from Vietnam, from the US, and from Thailand. Cambodia is a small and vulnerable country. So we, in geopolitical terms, we need an understanding among our neighboring countries and the world superpower. You saw this at the signing of the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement on Cambodia. And I think those Paris Peace Agreements remain relevant because it shows the spirit of international cooperation or understanding in order to put in place a regime in Phnom Penh that would be acceptable to the regional powers and to the world powers.
So to be clear, are you suggesting that there needs to be a third party intervention that does a regime change?
There is a mechanism to ensure a democratic change in line with the spirit and the letter of the 1991 Paris Peace Agreements on Cambodia. Therefore, I think we should use those mechanisms which are written in the agreements themselves. Cambodia should ask the United Nations and the two co-chairs of the international conference, the Paris International Conference on Cambodia, to reconvene these international conference so that all involved parties, directly or indirectly, could meet and apply fully and genuinely apply implement the Paris Peace Agreement on Cambodia. I think this is the only way to ensure a real and lasting peace in the region.
Do you think that in this situation, for example, today, they had a meeting at the border, and it seems that they have come to an 11-point agreement that perhaps things can de-escalate in a more stabilized way. But do you believe that Hun Sen will really let this end?
No, I think the border dispute is only one issue among many other issues. The real issue is financial, because Hun Sen can not support. Actually, he is opposed to Thailand's crackdown on the Chinese mafia that is operating along the Thai-Cambodia borders. The very survival of the Hun Sen regime depends on revenues that the Chinese mafia provide to the ruling party and to the Hun Sen family. So Hun Sen react against Thai authorities. Any government in Thailand who would want to crack down on those criminal activities. Actually, the Hun Sen regime is closely associated with the organized crime. If you fight against organized crime, then you fight against Hun Sen indirectly, and Hun Sen would react as he has been reacting against Thailand.
So in short, you think that he's not going to allow the ceasefire to take place?
No, because he has to protect the organized crime along the Cambodia-Thai borders, and he needs to divert attention from internal problems that he is facing and cannot solve, divert to external border conflict with Thailand. But this is not the main issue. The main issue is the very survival of the Hun Sen regime.
Okay, got it. And so now I'm going to move on to more about you. And I think that the issues that you faced and that you're still facing in exile, being in exile, is in the same kind of line that I'd like to communicate about journalism and media freedom and like kind of the long-term aspects of dictatorship, because most of the independent media has been stamped out. We both know that. And so what I want to know is, for the audience that doesn't know, in short, why are you in exile?
I'm being forced to exile. My parliamentary lived on several occasions. I have been sentenced to life imprisonment, hundreds of years in prison, and one of my major crimes was to defend the minority in Cambodia. I just suggest that we should respect the spirit of the UN Declaration on the indigenous, the right of the indigenous people. And for that, I was accused of treason and condemned and sentenced to life imprisonment. And I, despite my being sentenced to heavy jail terms, I still want to go to Cambodia, to go back to my native country. But Hun Sen physically prevents me from returning to Cambodia. I would cross Thailand to the entry point in Cambodia, but Hun Sen said that no, Sam Rainsy is not allowed. He has mobilized troops, asked the soldiers to dig trenches, to position machine gun to prepare missiles against me. He would not only kill me, but kill the people who would be around me. Therefore, I don't want to expose the life of innocent Cambodian people. I just expect Hun Sen to be more courageous and to allow me to go back to Cambodia. I'm prepared to be arrested. But even so, Hun Sen fears my presence in Cambodia because he fears that my presence would trigger the population to rise up against his regime.
Okay, so all of that said, being that you are in France and all of those things are real threats, do you feel safe even in exile? Or like, because there's a lot of talk that, you know, dictators are able to take care of people and things like from wherever. I mean, people have even told me that I will face consequences for speaking to you. And so I'm curious, do you feel safe in France?
I know that Hun Sen has sent to France, to Paris, where I'm living, members of his bodyguard unit, the elites of his henchmen. So I have informed the French authorities. And I think the best way to counter this is to warn Hun Sen that France, any democratic country, is not like Cambodia. Hun Sen enjoys total impunity. He can kill whoever he wants, but not on the soil of a democratic country like France, where the justice is independent.
Okay, so do you think that he's going to ban me from Cambodia for talking to you?
Of course, he doesn't want to talk with anybody. Talking for Hun Sen means talking on his terms.
Okay, so on that, while you're there, one of the questions that I have here for you that's more like a personal question, and I think a lot of people, of course, most of us have not ever dealt with a dictator, but you've actually been able to work with him. You've tried to work with him. What is it really like to be around Hun Sen? It's clear that you couldn't end up successfully working with him. So if you could give us some insight into what it's like to be around a dictator, I think that would be very insightful.
You asked me this question at the beginning of our talk.
Oh, really?
You quote me as saying that Hun Sen is a trap, is in his dictatorship. Because when you repress the people, when there is no decent voice, when the population, the general population hate you, you know that you cannot give freedom to the people, because the freedom for the people means that the people would turn against the dictator. So he has to be more and more tougher and tougher against his own population. Because as I have already said, Hun Sen cannot afford to lose power, because by losing impunity, he would lose anything, not only his freedom, but even his life. If you look at Saddam Hussein, if you look at Gaddafi, Hun Sen is terrorized by the past, the history of Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi. So if you talk about Gaddafi in Phnom Penh, you will be in trouble. Therefore, we have to break this vicious circle. We have to force Hun Sen to accept free and fair election. And free and fair election can be organized only under international supervision, as enshrined in the Paris Peace Accords on Cambodia.
Nationalism is fueling this conflict in many ways, and nowadays it's just so out of control. It's actually an information war of sorts. And what I want to know is,
this new scam is spreading rapidly in 2025 and emptying bank accounts in seconds.
You own a credit card?
what do you feel is a productive way to talk about the issues that the outside world sees are happening in Cambodia, but a lot of Cambodian people feel insulted by that when we try to bring these stories. I mean, so what is the way that the viewers, myself, can support Cambodian people during this time and not make them not contribute to nationalism, you know? Because I think, like, I can go online and say Hun Sen's a dictator. I've done that, and Cambodian people come and defend him and say that he made peace, you know what I mean? And they tell me not to rewrite their history, these things. So I think it's important to know, how can people support Cambodians through this?
To help us understand the real causes of the tension between Cambodia and Thailand. In the current situation, the real cause is not a border issue. It's a financial issue that is associated with the survival of the Hun Sen regime. Hun Sen wants to hide the real cause of the tension with Thailand, but we have to open the eyes of those who have not seen the real cause of the issue, because in order to solve the issue, you have to understand what is the issue. And solving this issue is to crack down on the international crime that is supporting Hun Sen. The rest is mainly talks that Hun Sen want to exacerbate about the border conflict, etc. But we have to go to the root of the issue. The root of the issue is, one, to fight, really fight against the international crime. The second ways of achieving a real and lasting peace is the implementation, the reactivation of the Paris Peace Accord on Cambodia, signed in 1991 by all Cambodian neighboring countries, including Thailand, and by the five permanent members of the UN Security Council.
Lastly, about you, I've spoken to some Cambodians about you and otherwise, and I also understand that you want to go home. I feel that, and you still seem to be quite popular there, and most people cannot envision you just going back and living there. So I want to know, if you go back, what will you do?
First, to ensure the effective implementation of the Paris Peace Accord on Cambodia, which would lead to the organization of free and fair elections. I think we should let the Cambodian people decide on the destiny of Cambodia. This is the basis of democracy. We have to respect that. Okay,
but you didn't answer the question. What would you do if you went back to Cambodia?
Is to organize forces that would be in a position, whether in the form of a new government or a provisional authority, a coalition of forces, democratic progressive forces, and they exist in all political parties, to ensure the implementation of the Paris Peace Agreement on Cambodia.
Okay, so to be clear, you want to be a politician again? There.
Of course.
Okay, so lastly, to end on a good note, for the Cambodian people who may be watching and may not be able to say what they mean or what they want, do you have any message for them?
Don't lose hope. The Hun Sen regime will come to an end, inevitably. And the world is changing. Hun Sen's political survival is associated with the organized crime. The whole world will fight the organized crime. And by doing so, they will undermine the Hun Sen regime. And Hun Sen regime is more and more out of date. And his contradiction between the US and China, as I have pointed out. I think this contradiction is untenable. Therefore, Hun Sen regime will collapse under the weight of its own contradiction.
So don't give up your hope, is what you're saying.
Never. Believe in your country, believe in justice, believe in democracy.
Okay, well, Mr. Sam Rainsy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on to my show today and sharing your insight. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I hope that we can keep in touch.